Okay, I'm back, and let's talk a little bit about how nationalism and democracy was working its magic with France post Napoleon. Okay, uh, after the defeat of Napoleon, there was a king that was placed on the throne. His name was Louis the 18th. Uh, he was an absolutist king. He died without children. His brother Charles X becomes the next king. He's also an absolute monarch. Remember that after the Congress of Vienna, they want to try to turn things back to the way that it was. So he's suspending the legislature, limiting suffrage, restricting the press, acting like his older brother did. Uh, in 1830, there was a revolution that took place. They forced Charles to abdicate, to step aside, and so they want to create a more representative government. But now the question is how far do they go with it? Liberals wanted to keep a monarchy. Uh, they wanted, maybe a republic, but radicals wanted even more change. They wanted to abolish the monarchy and just get everything back uh, to the way that it was after they cut Louis XVI head off. The Liberals won the argument, at least at that moment, and they placed another member of the French royal family on the throne named Louis Philippe. He had a constitutional monarchy, so things, at least to start with, were a little bit better. But France is suffering from a lot of problems in this time period. They're industrializing, and there's problems with industrialization. There's still that struggle between liberals and radicals. His government wasn't the best government. It was a lot of corruption. There was an economic downturn. And so in 1848, they overthrow Louis Philippe and they establish the Second French Republic. So they have a constitution. They set up the office of a strong president. They create an assembly that has one house, and they have universal male suffrage. And the person that they choose to be president is Louis Napoleon, who is a nephew of Napoleon Bonaparte. But apples don't fall very far from the trees. Louis Napoleon, he's the nephew of Napoleon, he becomes an emperor. And so he basically keeps a republican name but establishes an empire with him becoming Napoleon III. He has a lot of support, though. 90% of the voters actually liked his policies. They liked the stability and the prestige that he seemed to be offering. So he pulls this off, at least up until the 1870s. Later, a lot of his activities that he gets France involved with, we'll talk about this in a later slide, actually causes him to have to abdicate, and the ending of the Second French Empire and the creation of the Third French Republic. But the actions that France is engaging in this time period spreads to other places. People see that the French are doing things, they're changing things, and so there is a growing desire on the parts of people that don't have their own countries, like uh, the Czechs, the Italians, the Germans, people of the Austrian Empire. They want their own country. These things largely failed, though, largely because, number one, not everybody supported the revolutionaries. Not everybody wanted to see things change that drastically. And so, if you don't have a lot of popular support, it's kind of hard to hold a revolution. There also was this continuing struggle between people who want change and people who want a lot of change. That's the difference between liberals and radicals. And force was actually used to crush a lot of these rebellions. And so if the government's coming down on you, you don't have a lot of popular support, you're not going to get your idea across very successfully. But these ideas are still there. And so later they're going to give fruit, bear fruit for what's going on and what's happening.